Welcome to the Purple Rock Survivor podcast. I'm John, my co-host is Andy, and tonight we're discussing episode 2 of Survivor Kaoh Rong. We're going to bask in the glory of our accurate prediction last week. The Braun tribe is insane, Andy.
Indeed. And I just a lesson to future survivors. And if there's one thing you can take from this podcast, if you ever find that you're getting yourself in a little bit of trouble from what you're saying, just keep saying more and louder. And that's how I live my life, and I've never failed.
People who have listened to this podcast have certainly determined that is your strategy. I don't know if you've ever chosen to stand on a chair to make yourself more visible when doing so, but that's probably because we're not on video most of the time.
That's right. You don't know that I don't. And, man, is this just the way it's going to be in like, 3 tribe seasons that just once you start losing, you're going to keep losing because just it's tough to overcome that? Or are these 6 people just uniquely suited to fail?
Well, first of all, do you like how I cleverly skirted the fact that we were right that they're insane, but we got the boot person wrong completely?
Yeah, that's just par for the course.
Yeah,
I think people get a little too hung up on the people or the persons. It's about ideas. And our idea is that they were going to way overthink things, way play their hand, ignore the fact that Alicia is a person on their tribe, and nailed it.
Yeah, see, we're big picture thinkers is the thing. We're not into getting into the nitty gritty details, but we've got the overarching ideas here.
We like themes, we like ideas, we don't really like people, so it makes sense.
That is so accurate.
We are a decent podcast if you're into the strategy and the like. I think that might be on the wiki.
You know what? That's a book jacket quote if I've ever heard one. But can we just pause for a moment and appreciate the fact that we almost had 2 of the 3 tribes with a women's alliance last night?
This close!
Close.
I mean, maybe the worst women's alliance of all time, but still this close.
Still, I mean, that's precedent setting. We don't have any idea what's going on at Brains. I mean, they're so far from actually having to go to a vote that we haven't really seen that sort of strategy come up. But, I mean, potentially
it's still in play.
3 women's alliances in play. But
yeah, it went from, hey, we should do a women's alliance, against these jerky guys, to just complete and utter, collapse. Just a complete fire. And, I don't know if this says that the idea of a women's alliance is dead. Surely it doesn't. But, not a good look. Not one for when you're, putting the tallies of success versus fail that you really want to talk about.
Well, here's a fun thing. So we're watching, my wife and I, and at a certain point, Jennifer's giving a confessional, and my wife says, you're an idiot if you think Michelle's winning, because Michelle just doesn't impress me at all. Watch Jennifer in this confessional. She's the type of person that's getting a winner's edit. 5 minutes later, it's like, oh yeah? Tell me about that winner's edit again.
Yeah, is that like a 45-minute mark when you say that? That's why it was epic. And, we can talk a bit about what was real, what was on of that. But she was just climbing and rising. It's like the roller coaster. And then boom! Oh my god. I don't know if I've ever seen a collapse on Survivor just so spectacular. And, she's out there obviously doing the rounds on Twitter, on exit interviews. That wasn't the way it was. That wasn't the way it was. And, sure, of course not. I don't care. From a television perspective, it was fantastic to see just such an epic collapse from, the top to the bottom.
Well, that's why it was such an epic collapse, because when my wife said that, I was like, you know what, you're probably right. I'm watching Jennifer and I'm going, man, she's good. She can go really, really far in this game. And just like that, it's all over.
Yeah, no, and that women's alliance idea was a good idea, I think. I think they should try to seize power and not let, Jason and Scott caveman their way through it. I mean, obviously the big flaw there's 2 big flaws in the plan, and that's why it failed spectacularly. One is that Alicia is a member of it. But, Jennifer's looking for, somewhere where she could have high status versus where she was at. And the other problem is, I don't know if Sydney was ever into it. And we didn't get much from her. We haven't gotten much from her. So as it was happening, I was first like, oh, that's a pretty good idea. And the episode is giving a good arc of how Jason's boorish behavior is making this happen. But I'm like, is Sydney actually going to go for it? Because I kind of feel like she doesn't like Alicia. And I think that's where it all fell down. Like whether it, played as we saw on TV with it all happening at Tribal Council, or whether it was, decided before they got out there as, Jennifer claims. Clearly, some members of these three people were not into it.
The Jenny vote out thing, again, I was kind of impressed with her. I worry about this, and actually one of our commenters, Barbara Anderson, she pointed this out too. Jenny was probably their best shot at any sort of puzzle solving that might come up in these challenges. Now they're really at a disadvantage. Because who's your puzzle person now?
Yeah, no, I think there's two discussions about this, and that, why they did it, and should they have done it. And, I get why they did it. If you find somebody that, seems a little dangerous, is plotting against you, it's often a good idea to remove said person. I also get that if you were sitting there in that tribal council when she's flailing around like a maniac, you might be like, yeah, probably not the most solid alliance partner going forward. Even if, she's back in the fold, I don't know if I can trust this person to execute plans and such. But I gotta say, you probably should just keep her and get rid of Alicia.
So the one thing is, I thought Jason just played a horrible game and has played a horrible game so far. He really is taking that Russell game plan to heart, and that he's just been pretty bad at Survivor. But I will give him credit for this though, because at the Tribal Council, his, hey guys, I'm thinking of flipping speech that he makes about Jenny, he's not wrong. Like you said, if someone's pretty clearly at least wishy-washy, if not openly disloyal, probably a good idea to get rid of her. I mean, I think you could have probably accomplished the same thing by getting rid of Alicia, but still, I see his point at least.
Yeah, no, I'm not totally judging it. Exactly what you said, and I also was impressed what Jason said. It was probably the funniest moment of the episode. Now there might be some others, but it was right up there, and it was, I think, well articulated. But yeah, it's like, well, Jenny's useful and Alicia's not, and you cut her off at the knees by getting rid of Alicia. So even if she is wanting to do that, that's done.
Well, do you think that Jenny made one of the most critical mistakes you can possibly make, which I think we call rule number 1 around here? Did she play the post-merge game pre-merge?
A little bit. In her justification of why it should be a female alliance, yes, absolutely. Everybody should have been getting rid of Alicia. But I'm not sure how much of the motivation to do that was really driven by trying to set herself up for, the future in the game. I think it was an emotional one. I think she was kind of disgusted by the way Jason was, acting, and she decided to do something about it. And I get that. I get that from an emotional level, and also from a personal level for her. That if he is this dismissive of one other human being that he doesn't value, what is he saying and doing about you when you're not around?
Right. That's why I'm saying I feel like he's playing a pretty openly terrible game. I did like, though, Jenny's strategy of getting Alicia to her side by saying, hey, look, let's just put it all out there. You're the fucking worst, but I kind of want you to stick around. It felt to me like the way we treat Emma all the time.
Oh, no. Oh, that's not getting edited out. Oh, we are so lucky, and, probably not by accident that, we just cannot be toppled by a women's alliance here.
Oh, that's strictly by design. Let's put it out there.
I should clarify, when I was making fun of women's alliances as a bad idea. I'm not opposed to it completely if you got the right women. It just, maybe it turns out that, having similar boxes checked on, a census is not necessarily the best way to form alliances, especially early in the game. The fact hey, we both have similar chromosomes, but I can't stand you and you're useless is not, necessarily you shouldn't be so rigid of the fact that women's alliances. But, if you got the right women, then hey, go for it.
Yeah, and I think the Beauty Tribe is an example of that. They do have the right women.
Absolutely. They share characteristics. They get along. And that's what, yeah. So it's not really about them being women. It's about hey, this is a group of people that I get along with. That's how you should build your alliances. So what do you think? Do you think it was what we saw, that she just kept digging and digging her way through Tribal Council and she went from not going home to going home? Or do you think it's, that they caught her red-handed at camp, and she was already the victim before they got there.
Yeah, I think there was at least some suspicion. We even saw on the episode, Jason and Scott sitting there like, why is Jenny off talking to them so much? So I think the seed had already been planted there, and by the time it got brought up at Tribal Council, they were like, okay, yeah, we were right to suspect.
Yeah, because I gotta say, like, this episode just kind of gives me a bit of a dilemma in this area, and that, like, maybe Survivor was more fun in a speculation and talking standpoint before we got everybody giving us all this inside info after the fact, because, like, a lot of that is lies too, people. And I'm not, accusing this person necessarily, but, you have motivation to make yourself look less bad than the show did. So it's like, I don't know. Cause it was more fun last night when I was watching a Tribal Council and seeing somebody just fall apart than it is be like, oh, she was doomed anyway. What are you going to do? That's just all an edit.
Yeah, that is the, blessing and the curse of social media.
Yeah, and it's like, then it ends up being like, well, I like this person, so I'm going to trust their justifications, but I don't like Dan Foley, so he can go screw. And it's just, I don't know. As I was watching it, just because, like, we never got Sydney saying, like, yeah, I'm in. Except that we did get her later, like, hey, I thought we were doing this. What's this chick doing? And that actually was the moment where I hurled myself off the Jenny bandwagon.
Yeah, I think you were championing her last week, weren't you?
I was, and man, I still have bruises from the shoulder separation. But right when Sydney was just kind of like, what are we doing here? I was like, whoa, I think Jenny is actually really bad at this. And then Tribal Council started.
Well, I think it's almost a competition amongst the Braun tribe who can be the worst at this so far.
And that's another question I do have, because, like, yeah, they've been a train wreck. But, like, it's been close finishes in both challenges. If they get 2 puzzle pieces down faster than Beauty, if Scott Pollard hits a target before Peter does, they probably don't look this bad. And it's like, so are they really that much worse than everybody else, or are they the tribe that's had to go to Tribal Council? The clincher, though, is they've made some pretty dumbass decisions once they've got there.
Yeah. For all we know, the Brains tribe is just as disastrous as this one is. They're just not losing.
Yeah, and it's been like close margins. It's not like anybody's been kicking ass. So, we'll see, but, they're not getting rewards. They're having, it'll be 4 while the other people, sit their weakest members. So once you kind of get in that hole in a 3-tribe format, it's hard to dig your way out.
Yeah, that'll actually come into play with my predictions later on.
Yeah, I think my contention is that Alicia should have been the target, even with all the suspicions for Jenny. Would you agree, or?
Alicia should have been the target last week, so.
Yes, exactly.
That's your problem, is you missed on the first try. You may as well get it right the second time.
Yeah, cause here's the thing, like, she's still hanging around, and like, one of these days she's gonna be able to burn you.
Yeah, well, this was the issue with Jenny, is that, you can keep Jenny around and it's a risk because you don't know that she's entirely with you, but Alicia is definitely not with you.
Yeah, and like you've made sure of that. Just more than she has. Like you have ensured to keep her at that. So if you've decided that this person is not going to be part of your club and you're going to make her feel bad, get rid of her. As fun as it is for Purple Rock John to make fun of Sierra from Tocantins, she kind of got a bit of a last laugh on at least one of her tormentors. Like, the people that you feel are, less than, you better get rid of soon. And they're not. My wonder is, like, should we be nicer about Alicia? Is she not as bad as we thought?
So I'll go one step further. Did she actually do a great job of saving herself here?
She's saved, so.
At that Tribal Council, she basically stepped back and let Jenny hang herself. She threw it out there like, no, that wasn't me. And it just seemed like Jenny cracked.
Yeah.
I don't think that she was expecting Alicia to present such a vigorous defense of herself.
From the edit, which I loved. So yes, I agree. I think it was just, and then, yeah, she just kept, hanging herself, and Alicia, to her credit, gave her the rope. And, yeah, it's not a good look to be the person on Tribal Council just flailing about. I think she deserves some credit for that. But I'll say, like, while not giving her credit as somebody who should be out there, I like the idea of Alicia the underdog because it feels like this is probably one of the first times in her life that she's been the oddball outcast in a social group, and it's just
Okay. So here's wild conspiracy theory and just really a fun thought exercise more than anything. Would this be the Alicia Winters edit? I mean, we actually heard her mention Happy Dance, which might be just planting a seed. And then her narrative this episode was definitely much more positive than it was in the premiere.
No, I don't think so. I'll say she might be around for a while, and I think she could matter. In fact, I think I might enjoy it if she does. Much in the way that I started to enjoy the way Abby Maria burned all the people that should have voted her out. Right. I kind of want that to happen with Alicia. Not that she's a destructive force like Abby, but it's like, you idiots should have gotten rid of her. And when I see people do bad things, I like them to fail for it.
Yeah, I think that's about her ceiling is becoming the Abby Maria.
Yeah, because I don't see a winner because the show also never passes up an opportunity to make her look dumb.
They clown her so hard.
So hard. And it's made her, I think, a little bit more sympathetic, along with the boorish behavior of, especially Jason. But, it's kind of just like, oh, this poor girl, she's trying, gosh darn it, but she just can't do it.
Yeah, and they have, varying levels of, ways that they'll clown you. And you can tell almost by the musical cues they'll give you. Are they just really laying it on, or is this ha ha ha, look at this goofy person? With Alicia, it's pretty bad.
Yeah, I don't think the winner gets the embryo scene.
No, exactly. They sweep that one under the rug.
Cause I don't think she actually, I don't know, maybe she actually, it's possible she didn't necessarily, think that's what that word meant. It could have just been a malaprop, but it's good, and then you should use it because it was funny. And again, this isn't somebody they're trying to build up to be the winner. So yeah, I think, people love counter arguments, and I think also she's building up a lot of sympathy. So there's some at least you're a winner in it. Also, I think those people are being playful, but yes. No.
Yeah, this is not even remotely the start of a winner's edit. If it is, it's Fabio and Nicaragua-esque, and that's horrendous.
Yeah, and I guess that would be it, because Fabio probably got this. He did get this. I mean, he was compared to, a male model who everyone thinks is ridiculous, right?
Yes.
Who made a career actually on, an alternate career on being ridiculous. His main career was being hunky, but,
It's a good career path if you can get it.
I tried for a bit, but it turns out I have a body for podcasting.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just, I kind of am interested in her while simultaneously still not really liking her, just because it would be fun for me if Alicia was the doom of some of these Braun members.
You know what I said in our preview podcast, how I just instantly had just this visceral anti-Alicia reaction. I will say the sympathy thing is working on me. I'm like, man, they are really being hard on her. Even though I can picture myself being completely annoyed by her. The difference is I would have voted her out immediately.
Exactly. That's my thing too. I don't like seeing people treat other human beings like that to their face, because hey, do it in the confessional, I'm right there laughing with you.
Or do it on a podcast. Totally fine.
Exactly. But for me it offends my sense of gamesmanship that she's still there. It's if you don't like her and you think she's useless and you keep dangling around as she's gonna vote, then just vote her out. It would have been better. You could have had a more united tribe. Yeah, and then, which isn't to say that there's any pinpoint moment we could say that, had Darnell been there instead of Alicia, they wouldn't have lost this week. We don't know. There's no, she was not singled out as doing anything wrong.
Right.
But, you guys would be happier unless they're the kind of people that are never happy unless they have somebody to kick when they're down.
Maybe. Hey, let's move on to another tribe. There were actually other tribes in this episode, barely.
Yeah, so if we're coming around a bit on Alicia, what's your reaction to Caleb?
Oh, man. So the preview last week, we saw Caleb getting almost kissed by Ty, and then it cuts off right after Caleb recoils. And so I'm bracing myself that this is just going to be okay, everybody warned me. Caleb's the worst. The people that watch Big Brother said, oh, he's so terrible. You're going to hate him. So I'm like, okay, well, here it comes. This is when it starts. He was, maybe it was just that my expectation was so low, but it was so charming the way he reacted to it. He was like, just playing it off. He said, hey, next time just ask first. It was a fun, goofy little interaction. I found Caleb endearing.
He was kind of delightful. It's really weird. And then everybody is giving confessions about him and Ty having a bromance, which there was one more on the secret scenes this week. And yeah, I kind of agree completely.
I feel so vindicated in my predictions when I said, he doesn't seem so, terrible and douchey. I mean, he's clearly a little douchey, but he just didn't seem...
There are nice douches out there. They can't control who they are.
Right. I mean, it's just inborn in him. He's not going to change it. But I feel like I nailed it. He's not that bad. He's not great. I'd never want to be his bestie, but he's fine.
Yeah, I have no issue of him being on my television right now. I'm not rooting for his failure. I was pleasantly surprised when he came straight out and said, I'm no homophobe. And there's some people that are backlashing because obviously they have a lot more emotional investment in this character, because they've seen him in other things. It's well, he just knows what to say to camera. But it's sure, but he said it.
Yeah, exactly. Trust me, we've seen people with cameras around on this show say far worse things.
Yeah, he knew or felt genuinely that what you say is homophobia is a bad thing, that this is not something that you are going to be. And if you would ask most people before the season, they wouldn't have said, oh yeah, Caleb's going to be the guy that comes out and says, reacts as though homophobic is a bad thing to be viewed as. I think you've got a bunch of people talking on your television right now that wouldn't say that. So yeah, no, I mean, maybe we're that easy or our standards are so low, but I'm coming around okay. I'm not, he's not my favorite player or anything right now. I'm still formulating that based on, once the show tells me who's going to win. But
yeah, sure.
I'm okay with the continued adventures of Caleb and Ty.
Yeah, I do think that he is, benefiting from my low expectations, but still, and it also helps that he's catching some of that Ty shine because obviously I'm in love with Ty. So, if he gets that halo around him too, okay, well, if you have Ty's approval, I like you a little more.
Yeah, and it seems like that camaraderie has carried over to the current day because I've seen them, at each other on Twitter. And also, some people have also pointed this out, rightly so, that it's much easier to be happy and good guy when things are going well. So, obviously the tide could turn, but, there were people on Braun that were already not doing so well before they lost a challenge. So, and I guess also the beauty has, they've won a reward and they have the better beach. But yeah, as of right now, I think one of the conclusions I drew, and I wrote this on Twitter, is that after, this, what we've seen from Caleb, after what we saw from Natalie, then maybe we should never listen to people who deign to watch reality TV that isn't Survivor.
So you mean only listen to us, which is basically what we do anyway.
Absolutely. But yeah, you guys weren't right, man. I bet there was a lot of you that hated Hayden Moss, just because you hated the idea that a Big Brother contestant was coming. He was good too. But, Probst has even come right out and said that, he was not impressed with Caleb and didn't really want to cast him, but he's like, yeah, sure. And then he was, so.
Oh, I'm so glad that my opinion aligns with Jeff Probst.
Yeah. Let's change it, turn it back. Well, we'll hear from him about that subject on our, blog this week.
Yeah, that'll come up when we plug stuff later.
So, perhaps even more unusual than Caleb not being terrible is, how did the Beauty Tribe become the best tribe?
I think they do have one weakness. I think they might actually struggle a bit when it comes to their puzzle game. I think they're fine. They're benefiting more from the fact that Braun is worse. Mm-hmm. But the Brains Tribe struggles with the more physical stuff. Although I think now that they can sit out two people, they won't struggle as much with the physical stuff. So I can imagine Brains Tribe winning the next challenge because of that. If it's one of these same, various elements types of challenges. Regardless, they do have most of the bases covered. They're mostly young, athletic. They do have some brains, not as much as the Brains Tribe. They're a pretty close to complete team. They're the Golden State Warriors. You can beat them, but it's not easy.
I don't know if you can beat the Golden State Warriors, but, I think one of the reasons why you just kind of overlook a beauty tribe, there's probably two reasons. One, Jeff Probst's insistence that there's 3 traits that you need to do Survivor, and beauty is one of them, is completely laughable. So some challenges are designed for brain, some are designed for brawn, none are designed for beauty. So you gotta, like, think of it that way. And then the other reason is, like, a lot of the people on this tribe, maybe a lot is an exaggeration, 3 to 4 of them are the kind of people that are often just window dressing in any season. They're the ones that tacked on at the end of the tribe. So they don't garner a lot of respect, but for one, I think they probably did a better job in casting them. And maybe when they get concentrated together, they're no longer kind of, useless appendages. They get to kind of do their own thing. Similarly to how anytime the dynamics and shift of how tribes are structured, that suddenly people that are, cast aside as other are now in positions of power, whether it's old, young, race, whatever. So I think that's part of it. And I think one thing, so you don't need beauty to get ahead in Survivor, but I think the analog is social. You need to get along socially. And I think being in the group of, popular, good-looking people know how to get along with other popular, good-looking people because, a lot of their identity is bought into we get to hang out with each other and push out the others.
We get to be the elite of your high school.
Yeah, and then there's infighting, I'm sure, incredibly vicious within. But yeah, it's like you didn't see, a lot of unpopular, attractive people in high school.
Let's talk, though, about the idol on that tribe, because we finally got a glimpse of where the idol might be. Ty actually found it, and it's complicated. Yeah. I mean, he found the note, and he's like, oh, the idol is buried beneath this tree, which I thought, man, that's a really weird clue. Like,
what a freaking waste of time. Yeah, why not just wait for the person to look under the tree?
Yeah, you put a note that says, look down. It's really weird. And so then he digs, and it's like, oh, it's a box, and here's some weird kind of tool thing. And then you have to climb a tree and use the tool and get the key, and like this weird, like, Dr. Seuss invention just to get to the key to open the idol box. Here's my question. Can he not just take the box out and just smash it open? Is there some rule against that?
Maybe. I mean, we don't know. It could be. Production sometimes says that, no, you can't do it this way. It has to be that way. I have that about few things, because, players try to come up with hacks, and it's like, no. But other times, production's just like, hey, cool, you hacked it. That's fun.
Yeah, I think I generally like that attitude more when they're just like, well, we didn't say you couldn't do that, so go for it.
Yeah, but this could be one of those instances where they said, no, you cannot do that.
Right.
Because we want our television doing this.
Yes.
Yeah, and we should clarify, I think you and I are on the same target. It is confusing when it was on. And in fact, I only really fully put this together when you posted the screenshot of the note. He has the idol. It's in the box. The thing that he, scraped his,
that
skin
box
off for.
He dug up.
Yeah, the idol's in there. He just can't use it yet. And I don't think he could go and tribal council's like, here you go, Jeff. Hopefully you have the key.
That'd be amazing if he just handed him the box. It's in there. Just trust me.
Yeah.
We actually got a comment from, Saturday Night Palsy, who had this beautiful scenario. What if someone got medevaced while trying to get to that idol?
I wouldn't rule it out. I think there's a non-zero chance that will happen.
That would be the most amazing medevac reason ever.
Yeah, and that could explain why it's like, no, don't do that again, because I don't know how I feel about this. I think there's a lot of people like, yeah, finally, they're making idols harder to find, but like, I don't know if I care that much of how hard an idol is to get. I think there's some value in that retrieving this idol comes with risk, but I think, as we saw, like Stephen Fishback didn't have to kill himself to get the risk of looking for an idol.
Right.
I mean, it was interesting enough this episode, but is it going to be interesting for like 5 more episodes of people not being able to retrieve an idol?
Right, and that's the problem, is that you want the idols to be a little difficult, but you also want idols to be in play. So if you make them too hard, they're not going to end up getting played, which is boring.
Yeah, and I also think that everybody sitting at home watching TV drastically overrates how easy finding idols is, because we only get a 2-minute segment of this is the person looking and hey, they found it. And then maybe, if a person is desperate, this is a person looking, oh, they didn't find it. But, there's a lot of people who have invested a lot of time searching for idols that did not find them.
Yeah, like Alicia last night. I mean, we saw her searching for 10 or 15 seconds. She clearly was not, out there searching for 20 minutes and giving up. She was out there a very long time. She just didn't get it.
Yeah, like the reason why they didn't, where Stephen Fishback last season was doing all the crazy vote splitting instead of just voting Joe, and to the point where he gets voted out himself, is because they were sure that Joe had an idol, because all this guy did, this super god man of Survivor, was spend hours and hours for looking for idols that he never found. And obviously some of that is because Jeremy already found some of them, but I don't know that it's as easy as everybody thinks. It's just less visually difficult as it is now. And that's I don't know if it needs to be this hard, I think, especially as you said, it was so stupid that it's alright, you found this clue, look down. He could just as easily found the box on the ground and never found that clue they put up there and said, look down.
Right.
So I don't know. I mean, if it leads to something good, then cool. I think maybe what they're going for by making it this difficult, and there's also, as a lot of our readers pointed out, maybe Ty made it more difficult than was planned, is that they want multiple people involved in the retrieval of the idol because of the twist of this season, and we discussed earlier that two idols can combine together.
Yeah, and I think that's a part of it, but also the idea that you can take the hard route, which is trying to get it yourself, or you can make it much easier on yourself by involving somebody else, but then you also have to, do the risk-reward calculation of, is it worth it letting this other player know I have the idol?
But yeah, maybe if more people are privy to the knowledge that idols can now be shared property in a different way than, I guess theoretically they always could have been, but literally combined for a greater idol, would mean that might actually come to pass. Because as I pointed out, very rarely do two people in the same alliance know that they both have idols. So yeah, I'm not necessarily with everybody else. It's yeah, make the Survivor search for idols, but I'm not against it either. Let's see how it plays out.
Alright, so let's move on to the Brains Tribe, because there actually was at least something that happened on the Brains Tribe, but all it was a discussion about water.
Yeah, no, I don't think this is like San Juan del Sur, where we had 5 episodes in a row that was about food and acquisition of food, the loss of food. Hit me up more with that suggestion that San Juan del Sur was one of the greatest seasons ever. Reddit. Yeah, no, I mean, this I think was interesting in that it showed conflict, that there is conflict on the Brains Tribe. And before we completely get to who's that conflict and what it might mean for the game, more who's right about this water? Is it Liz? Is it Joe and Debbie? What do we got?
Ideally you always boil your water, just because it's not gonna hurt. But at the same time, I think there's a misperception about where exactly this water is coming from. I think in the earliest seasons, it used to be either naturally occurring water or water from an actual well or something along those lines.
Where animals go to the bathroom in Africa.
Yeah, it's something that you would definitely need to filter. I believe, and I do not have this confirmed, but I believe now it's basically they just dump actual potable, drinkable water into a giant well and you go and scoop it out. And yes, standing water might have gotten riskier the longer you've left it there, but especially in the early days, you're probably fine just drinking it. If it's the risk of dehydration versus drinking iffy water, drink the iffy water.
Yeah, I think you've laid it out pretty good. One little thing, and my wife was the one that pointed it out, it's not even a well that they're setting up there. They're not digging wells, they're just setting up Survivor artwork, things above ground. Yeah.
Yes.
It's how your pool is below ground, but other people that aren't as rich as you have the above ground pool. I don't even know if that'll be in. It'll be interesting to find out tomorrow. But yeah, it's just Survivor scenery. And yes, they dump in water for a couple of reasons, I imagine. One, they've had to do a lot of tricks the way they do production. If they were relying on naturally occurring water, then like 5 seasons in after back to back to back in the same location, there would be none. I think a 2 is it maybe is a little tacky to send a bunch of Americans into poor countries and say, hey, drink up all of their naturally occurring water. And then 3, I think they've realized that we need people to have water if this TV show is going to function. Yeah, I think what it is, where I fall is boil your water, especially the longer you get into the game. But those first few days, just drink the water. It's probably fine. Like I don't think anything would have gotten to it, especially if you guys are cautious enough to cover it.
Yeah, if you really want to, especially on those first few days, because you have relatively clean clothes, you can filter it through your clothes if you wanted to. Again, you're not going to get it perfect, but it's one of those risk-reward scenarios. Like, it's probably worth the risk.
Yeah, but we're now 6 days in, so I don't think, or maybe it was 4 days at that point. So it's like, I don't know if Liz was being unreasonable suggesting that, we need to boil water to get rid of pathogens. And it was weird how Joe was just like, pathogens? like she just invented something. It's like, do you not know that germs are there? And of course the best, and this, I don't know why we've gone this long without talking about it, and I'll set you up to go, was Debbie and her massive expertise of knowing how good water is by looking at it.
I don't even remember if I left the joke in last week's podcast that I made about Debbie's indictment for her water testing scandal. She was supposed to test water from Hurricane Katrina, and she made false statements about it and pled guilty. And so apparently her test method is, yeah, that looks good.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, I think a lot of this happens in Survivor. This happens in life, where people assign, evil or malice to what truly, more often, is incompetence. And that's, maybe that was the case in Debbie's situation. That she wasn't, being a horrible person. She was being crappy at her job. She was looking at the water and it's like, yeah, sure, clean enough. But,
well, to be clear though, that's still being a horrible person. It's just not maliciously being a horrible person.
Yeah, it's just being horrible at your job. Yeah, you might not have been out to harm people, you just suck. And, I just love that, it looks good to me. It's like, do you use the same, logic for not washing your hands? They're not dirty. I didn't pee on them. Like, come on, germs, I think we figured out, 100, 200 years ago that these things are real.
Maybe the jury's still out on that research in her mind.
Hey, she wouldn't be the only person on this cast to cast doubt on widely proven medical theories.
I set you up so well for that one.
It did. I wasn't even expecting it, but there it was on the tee. But I do think that other people are just kind of flabbergasted. Like, no, of course you boil the water. You always boil the water. If you've ever been camping, you boil the water. It's like, yeah, this isn't like streams where beavers pee in people. This is water given by production. So it is a bit of a gray area. I do think probably the rule of thumb is the longer you're out there, the more you're going to have to do something with your water. But those first few days, it's kind of like an insider tip from some survivors. It's like, yeah, just drink it. It's better than dehydration. And
yeah, and especially those first few days when you're building a shelter, you're exerting a lot.
You don't have fire.
You may as well just drink the water.
Yeah, so it's a bit of a gray area. But okay, in this exact instance, who was right? Was it Liz? Was it Joe? Was it neither?
I mean, Liz has a valid point, but at the same time, if Joe doesn't care enough and wants to take the risk, let Joe take the risk. I mean, you can still make the fire on your own. She built a charcoal-based filter or something like that.
How about that? I like that Joe's like, this is kindergarten? Where is he sending his grandkids to kindergarten? That they're building charcoal filters?
I know, he's in Florida. I need to find that school.
My kid, colors a few things hey, there's a happy face. I'm so proud of you. I'm gonna preserve this art forever. Recycle bin. But I guess in Florida they're making charcoal filters. Wow, how eco-conscious.
Yeah, we're raising the geniuses in Florida. I don't know if you've seen the news.
Yeah, no, I mean, clearly the only news ever coming out of Florida is how bright and interesting the people are. And this will be reflected in the polling numbers in the current Republican primary. Wow, we're just all over with the politics today. So actually let's talk more about Liz, cause I'm actually a little interested in her edit, and, not just because I thought she was awesome in the preseason. because you posited the idea in our little predictions write-up that maybe she's going to be in trouble. And, I thought, okay, kind of interesting, going on a limb. And then, like, 3 other former survivors that are currently doing power rankings kind of felt the same thing. And I'm just like, what am I missing? Like, I thought your logic was okay. I was like, I can kind of see it, but is she getting an edit that suggests that she's in trouble?
It's a tough read. So I think it's easy to assign whatever read you want to it.
Yeah.
I think just for me, it was more of a covering my bases thing. Like if Aubrey's gonna flip, I feel like she and Neil are close enough that she'll be like, you know what, Neil, come on, come with me, make this vote. And I don't think they target Peter. I think just, process of elimination. If Aubrey's flipping, then the target is Liz. That's all it was.
That's what you put down. And I thought that, I was like, okay, that's solid logic. I was just shocked that suddenly it was like this emerging consensus that like she's in danger. I'm like, really? I thought she just said a few things and then everybody talked about the olds. To the point where, I was a bit paranoid about, it's not unusual for former survivors to have a little bit of knowledge about, seasons that have been recorded a year ago.
Mm-hmm.
But then I think this episode, they didn't predict Jenny, so let's give them some credit there.
Yeah, right? No one had that one in the books.
And I think, once you start looking for it, maybe it's just like, she is saying enough things that, maybe they're setting her up for some level of hubris. But I do think it's what you said. It's this rubric of how do you feel about her? Then you're going to use that evidence to frame it in that. Because largely we haven't gotten a lot out of the Brains tribe. But this week we got the water thing. And I don't know. Because I think the other option is this could be the beginning of her winner edit. I think that's on the page.
It's still possible. And it could also be the beginning of a Fishback edit. Because she's crying and people aren't listening to her. I want to take out the white whale. So you never know. It could go a lot of ways. And like I said, I don't necessarily have a good read on it. I was just more thinking that if it's not Joe or Debbie, it's Liz.
No, I think that's fair. So what did you think of Joe's dismissal of her? Do you think that's just, 2 people disagreeing on something that are hot and tired? Or do you think that's Joe I don't want to hear it from you, brainiac girl with your perfect enunciation? Do you think he's just annoyed that a woman was coming up with these suggestions?
No, I think it's that he's 72 and he doesn't want to hear your shit. I think that's how most old people are.
Yeah, but I thought you said that Joe was the most delightful old person in the history of ever.
He is, but he's still an old person.
Yeah.
That's what they do.
Yeah, Occam's razor is Joe was just getting a little cranky in that moment. But they included it in the episode, and that's why it's significant. So even if at the moment it isn't this, it's like they had 5 minutes to give us brains, and this is what we got. So what does it portend? And I think it's something worth watching, because I don't know if there's another story right now with the Brains tribe other than Debbie's still wacky.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll get some predictions on that tribe later and see if that comes back up.
All right, so I think that's about it for this episode. You got anything else?
No, let's talk crazy medevac scenarios.
Yeah, so this is our recurring segment. We'll see how long we do it. Where we just we know there's a lot of medevacs this season, and you and I decided that we are going to lay out scenarios that could come to pass, but not really, because we're not trying that hard. We don't want to be ghoulish here. We're not going to be like, oh, so-and-so scrapes themselves, because I actually think that's happening, and it could be really sad. No, instead, last week, I suggested that Ty could be the victim of the happening. And you said that Alicia could get a rock dropped on her accidentally, maybe, by Jason. And we let our listeners vote, and I only won by 1 vote.
You deserve to win by more, because I did like your scenario better, and you were so handicapped by saying Ty would get caught by that, though.
No, you absolutely called it, and you were right, so I might try to avoid that this time. But since I won by 1 vote, I'll go first this time. It gives you a chance to kind of, evolve yours if you need to.
Okay. I get a counter strategy going.
And I'm also just excited, it was much closer than I thought it would be. 'Cause honestly, I thought you would probably just dominate this whole game. And I think it's because it was my idea. You didn't know where it was going. But, wackiness is more your thing. So, My pick, and this also kind of came from the first episode, but I think it's still out there, is if you remember in the first episode, we got the scene where on the Beauty Tribe, the chickens escape.
Mm-hmm.
And,
Are the chickens gonna come kill the tribe now?
No, that's right. So yeah, they had 3 chickens, and Nick, was, arroganting it up in a confessional, because that's his shtick, about, this is wasting more calories than it's worth. Like, just really being superior to our chicken friends. And then they only caught 2 of them.
Mm-hmm.
And we know this because Ty, made the free-range chickens. And oh my god, it was adorable. God, Ty is the greatest. And I'm not even saying that in sarcasm. I know people can never undertell anymore with me. But that chicken is still out there. We saw them eat a chicken. And then we saw Nick even be like, ha ha ha, whatever matter, I'm just gonna kill him anyway. And that 3rd chicken is going to come back and get Nick. Now, I'm not gonna say it's revenge, cause that's silly. That's not how chickens work. It's how trees work, but it's not how chickens work.
Right.
I'm just gonna
Don't be silly.
Yeah, it's looking ridiculous. I'm gonna say he's just gonna be out there, maybe at night, and Nick is just gonna get unfortunate, and the chicken is gonna just peck him.
Mm.
And just peck. And I'm not saying he's gonna lose an eyeball, cause, that's grotesque. That's just mean. But, we did once have it in this game that, somebody was medevaced because of an abrasion to their eye from sand. So I think he'll get pecked enough that to save his vision, that the vision that he loves so much to see pictures of himself, that Nick will be medevaced from the game. He will be henpecked out of Survivor.
Oh, maybe it's like a hen peck to the face, and he's like, no, not my moneymaker, and then he goes home.
Exactly.
Okay. Yeah, I think you should have, I shouldn't have helped you out there. I feel like that's the closer if he gets the moneymaker injury. Alright, so my counter to yours, sort of playing into both last week's preview and this episode. We did see that Caleb and Ty got a little flirtatious. There was almost a kiss there, the hashtag stolen kiss. So my scenario is that Caleb ends up catching Gay from kissing and cuddling Ty, because I've heard some credible all-cap shouting on the internet that has told me that that's how that works. So then Caleb, of course, as these things go, has to get Gay married because he showed compassion to a fellow human being that's gay. So then the entire tribal society that they've built crumbles. And again, this is all things that I've heard on the news, mostly in debates, we'll say.
And what's interesting is you're not even on Facebook and you're hearing this.
Yeah, news travels in a lot of different formats here. So the medevac is going to happen when Caleb leans in to kiss the groom, but he goes too hard at it and he ends up getting concussed.
Interesting. See, I was thinking you were going that because of their criminal love in the face of God,
it was going to be struck down. I'm so glad that I didn't end up using this scenario last week, because I'm just happy that Caleb turned out to be way less hateful than I feared. So this seems like a much more lighthearted, ridiculous scenario than it might have last week.
Yes. All right. So Caleb is what?
He catches Gay.
Catches Gay. Is Gayed out of the game.
Yes.
Excellent.
Gay concussed out of the game.
While these might seem ridiculous, and that is the point of the game, I should note that on our site, Pretty Boy Probes did suggest that my idea that the trees will gain revenge on Ty might be coming to pass.
He's already gotten his feet and his chest
scratch up from those trees. And, it's not completely out of the question that as he makes attempt number 2 for that key, the happening!
I did like my theory that it was that's the big brother of one of the trees that he ripped out of the ground.
Look, we can't rule it out. That's all I'm saying. All right. So, we will post this along with our predictions that we do every week on our site. You can vote on which, scenario wins. I can't even give you the voting criteria. It's totally up to you what you think it deserves a check. But alongside that will be our predictions. So let's get to it.
All right. Let's start at brains. Who do you have for brains?
I was gonna go in a different direction. I was thinking that because what we saw this week and what we discussed, there was tension with Liz and Joe, that it would be Joe. But I'm still saying Debbie.
Okay. Well, I'm glad you cleared the lane for me, because I'm going to say it's Joe.
There you go.
And basically for what we already said, that, maybe that argument somehow, I don't see it as such a major argument, but you need something for that first vote, so maybe that's the justification.
Yeah, and like I'll also like further develop what is now your prediction and why I was going there. In the secret scenes, Aubrey was talking that there's tension also between Neil and Joe.
Oh.
That they're black and white, they're just always butting heads, not agreeing with what. So it's like, I do think, Cantankerous Joe is a thing. The reason why I just couldn't pull the trigger on that, and why I just flipped back to Debbie, is the way that, the survivors are treating Debbie on Twitter does not suggest that she's somebody who hung around the game and burned them. I kind of feel it's kind of like, Debbie, ain't she great? It just feels like the person they mercy killed early on. And that's not like, yeah. And some people might be worried, it's like, stop bringing social media into it. These things usually lead me astray.
Yeah, they're usually very, very wrong. I mean, you can see Andy's predictions from last season.
Yeah. So I'm like, don't worry that I'm giving you, spoilers that you're trying to avoid. But just the vibe I get is that Debbie just wasn't around long, and thus they view her with fond memories of that wacky woman that they spent 9 days with, not the one that they had to live with forever. So that's why I dialed it back to Debbie.
Okay. Let's move on to Braun then. Who do we have? I'll start on this one because I'll cave. It's got to be Alicia this time, right?
This way I'm going the other way. I'm sticking back. I'm going back to Sydney.
Okay.
And I just think that those idiots will just keep doing the wrong thing. I have no evidence to suggest that they won't.
I mean, I can't argue with you. I mean, there's clearly precedent there.
Well, and like, to your favor, you say like they've lost 2 in a row. Finally, they'd be like, okay, let's cut this and like get down to it. But then the flip side is, well, you already lost the 3. Like,
you've gone this far.
Yeah, like at this point, it's just like you're hoping for a swap, right? So, maybe it's time to get rid of the more dangerous. Even though, I mean, Alicia is actually the most dangerous person to them.
By far. Okay, so we'll finish it off. Who's the Beauty Tribe member that's going home?
I'll first say that none of them are the Beauty Tribe member that's going home. They're not going to Tribal Council. Unless, of course, my entirely plausible scenario of chicken-based, not quite revenge, but more, theatrical poetry. I don't know. Like it's almost like it would be like
poetic justice is what you're
poetic justice or theatrical irony. Like that's what's going to happen to Nick. That could be a thing, but also like if they do vote, if it was like last week I said Ty, and I was just going to say Ty again, just because I could see them be like, oh, we love Ty, but we got to keep the tribe strong. But kind of what I was just saying, they're far enough in the game that I don't know if you need to. So maybe it's time to throw somebody aboard, and Nick seems to be the one that isn't getting confessionals about how many allies and bromances he has, so I'll say Nick.
Seconded.
There you
because basically the same reason, like it's not one of those 3 ladies, and Caleb and Ty would be like, come on ladies, let's just make a Nick.
Yeah, and like they weren't expecting to go there, there's not a lot of drama, so yeah, sure, Nick, and then we 5 can run this thing, we can go to the end.
Sure.
So, sure. But it's not gonna be them, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I agree.
Alright, so that kind of finishes the business. So now let's talk about business.
Alright, we have a website that you can check out. It is purplerockpodcast.com. We have our fantasy results that go up there after every episode. If you're in our fantasy league, we have a weekly column, usually from I was going to say that it was from me, but how silly of me. It's from a very special guest author, Jeff Probst, who was so gracious as to write us a blog post each week. And we should hopefully have a blog post coming sometime soon from our own Emma, who attended the live Know-It-Alls event in Los Angeles. Yes, that's right. We're going to talk about attending the event of a competing podcast.
Because they're not competing with them at all.
No, it's really, we are the JV to Rob's varsity team, so.
Rob was nice enough to say he's heard of us. That could have been BS, but he's certainly not competing with us.
No, and Rob was super nice when I happened to get the privilege of running into him at an after party, so.
No, we're competing with the 30 other Survivor podcasts out there.
There's so many.
So many.
So we are very thankful to you guys, by the way, for listening to us over some of your many, many other options out there.
Yeah, absolutely. And quickly on the fantasy game, because nobody, is more interested than hearing about other people's fantasy teams. But this has been a bracket buster of a season so far, huh?
Yeah, we had a high concentration of people that had Darnell prior to episode 1. And then I think it was somewhere around 40% of people also had Jenny before episode 2. So taking out a whole lot of people early in this fantasy game.
Yeah, and they could switch from Darnell, although 7 of them didn't.
Right.
I gotta figure that some of those people switched to Jenny, so yeah, that's awesome. I love it.
Yeah, I know of at least a handful that switched from Darnell to Jenny.
And I gotta say, I want it so that somebody had the first 5 picks in their team, including Darnell. And if that happens, make sure you point yourself out, and we're gonna get you something. I'm not sure what, but it's just too amazing.
You'll get recognized in some fashion.
Anyway, so yeah, that's our site. We are also on Twitter. I am Purple Rock Andy. You are Purple Rock John. The show is Purple Rock Pod. You can go there, follow us, and, read Jonah from One World putting me on blast.
Well deserved. Props to him.
Oh, it was fantastic. Just fantastic. If it seemed like I was salty, I was not. I loved every moment of it.
Yeah, and Purple Rock Pod is also the Twitter account where I will live tweet each episode from. And you should also tweet to that account during the episode. I do it on Eastern time, but if you happen to tweet at us, you might end up in our live blogs, which appear weekly on our site. Matt does those for us. And we like to use tweets from people that talk to us, follow us, get retweeted by us, whatever.
If you've got more that you would like to say to us, you can email us at purplerockpodcast@gmail.com.
High five. You actually got it right this time. We also have a Tumblr, which I probably won't get right, so I'll let you do that one.
purplerockpodcast.tumblr.com. We should probably start doing something more with that with this season. Let's see what the Tumblr community is doing about this. You guys were super active last season. Now, you just don't know how partisan you need to be just yet, but you'll get there, I'm sure.
They're all on board with the Alicia Winter edit right now.
They kinda are. And then, we talked about how lucky we are that you spend your time, with us, given the, mind-bogglingly plethora of choices out there. Like, I remember when we started, we just never knew how many there were out there. We were like, there's Rob. I kind of know there's a couple others, but we didn't look. And then once we did, it was like, what are we doing?
Yeah, once we found out there were like 5 or 6, we're like, oh, why are we bothering?
Yeah, so that you choose to spend, an hour of your week with us when there's so many choices, we are incredibly grateful. And if you enjoy doing that and you would like to help us out, you can order something on Amazon. We would get a small percentage of it. It's no extra money for you. It's a little bit for us that helps offset the cost of this podcast. You can do that by going to purplerockpodcast.com/Amazon.
Yes, you can. Anything else for this week?
I think we usually finish on some theme music that we don't have the rights to, right?
That's what it's like when a woman wants a baby.